Hello, geographers. Today we're exploring continental ice sheets, the most extensive features to ever appear on the face of our planet. These massive ice formations have literally reshaped our entire continents, transforming the terrain and drainage patterns of nearly one-fifth of Earth's land surface during the Pleistocene epoch. Okay. All right. So Pleistocene ice sheets, except for Antarctica's, developed in subpolar mid-latitude locations, then spread outward in all directions. Initially, the pre-existing terrain channeled the flow of ice, much like water follows valleys. However, as ice continued to accumulate, sometimes reaching thickness of over a mile, it eventually overrode most of the periglacial topography. In Northern America, what began as separate ice masses in the Canadian Rockies, the Hudson Bay region, and Labrador Bay eventually coalesced into the massive Laurentide ice sheet that covered most of Canada and extended well into the northern parts of today's United States. At its maximum extent, about 21,000 years ago, the ice sheet covered an area of about 5 million square miles. Now, when ice sheets retreat, they typically leave behind a general undulating surface, not completely flat, but with relatively low relief. The landscape becomes dominated by ice-scoured rock knobs and scooped out depressions, often filled with water to form countless lakes. This is beautifully demonstrated in places like the Canadian Shield region and in Finland, where tens of thousands of lakes dot the landscape that were once beneath massive ice sheets. These regions also show erratic and unequally developed stream patterns, as the original drainage systems were completely obliterated by the ice. One of the most conspicuous erosional features created by ice sheets is the U-shaped valley. Unlike V-shaped valleys carved by rivers, glacial valleys have broad, flat bottoms and steep sides. A spectacular example of this process can be seen in central New York, where the advancing ice sheets reshaped parallel streams into valleys, into long, narrow, deep Finger Lakes. So we have that, for an example, is the Finger Lakes. And I was recently there in the Finger Lakes, and this is standing on the edge of these deep lakes. Okay. Well, the lake maybe itself isn't deep, but it is on a high cliff. Okay. So another distinctive erosional landform is the rouche moutonnées, a bedrock hill or knob that's been overridden by moving ice. If you were to visit places like Acadia National Park in Maine, you'd notice the asymmetrical rock formations have gently sloping, smoothly polished sides facing the direction the ice came from, the Stoss side, and a steeper, rougher side where the ice moved away, the lee side. The distinctive shape results from abrasion on the Stoss side as the ice rides up and over the obstacle, and plucking on the lee side where pieces of the rock are pulled away by the ice. While erosion shapes some landscapes, deposition is equally important in creating distinctive glacial terrains. As ice sheets retreat, they leave behind various depositional features formed from the vast quantities of rock debris that they've transported. A till plain is an irregularly undulating surface characterized by broad, low rises and shallow depressions. These plains result from the uneven deposition of unsorted glacial till, a mixture of clay, sand, gravel, and boulders. Much of the agricultural heartland of the American Midwest sits on till plains left by the retreating Laurentide ice sheet. The largest and most conspicuous depositional features are moraines, ridges or mounds of unsorted glacial debris that form distinct topographic highs. So there are several types. Terminal moraines mark the farthest advance of a glacier. Long Island in New York is actually a terminal moraine representing the southernmost extent of the Laurentide ice sheet in that region. Recessional moraines form when a retreating ice front temporarily stabilizes. The Kettle Moraine region in Wisconsin provides an excellent example of these features. Ground moraines form where till is laid down from underneath a glacier, creating generally rolling landscape like those found throughout much of the Midwest. Within these morainal landscapes, you'll often find kettles, irregular depressions created when blocks of stagnant ice became buried in sediment and eventually melted, leaving behind bowl-shaped hollows. Many of these kettles now contain lakes, like Walden Pond in Massachusetts, made famous by Henry David Thoreau. Another fascinating depositional feature is the drumlin, a low, elongated hill formed by ice sheet deposition. Drumlins are streamlined in the direction of ice movement, with their steeper, blunter end facing the direction from which the ice came. They typically occur in groups, sometimes by the hundreds. The greatest concentrations in North America can be found in central New York and eastern Wisconsin. So not all glacial deposition happens directly from ice. Meltwater plays a crucial role in creating what we call glaciofluvial features. Unlike ice, meltwater can transport large boulders. So these features are composed largely of gravel, sand, and silt, what we call stratified drift, because it's sorted and layered by flowing water. The most extensive glacial fluvial features are outwash plains. These are relatively smooth, flat surfaces formed by meltwater streams flowing away from the ice margin. The sandy plains of Cape Cod were found this way. When confined to valleys beyond the outwash plain, meltwater deposits form valley terrains, lengthy corridors of sand and gravel that follow ancient river valleys. The Missouri and Ohio River valleys contain excellent examples. Some of the most distinctive glaciofluvial landforms include eskers, long, sinuous ridges of stratified drift that look like railroad embankments snaking across the landscape. These form in tunnels beneath stagnating ice sheets. Some of the most impressive eskers can be found in Maine, where they extend for many miles. Kames are steep-sided mounds or conical hills composed of stratified drift, formed when meltwater deposited sediment in close association with stagnant ice. Kames are common throughout formerly glaciated regions and often appear alongside kettles in what geographers call kame and kettle topography. Finally, lakes are extremely common in these landscapes, with old stream systems obliterated and water remaining ponded in countless erosional basins and kettles. Formerly glaciated regions often contained thousands of lakes. Minnesota, the land of 10,000 lakes, owes its watery landscape to the effects of continental ice sheets that retreated roughly 12,000 years ago. So as we close today's lecture, I hope you can appreciate how the landscapes many of us live on today were shaped by these massive ice sheets of the past, from the fertile farmlands of the Midwest to the distinctive geography of the Great Lakes region. Continental ice sheets have left an incredible mark on our world that continues to influence human settlement patterns, agriculture, and resource availability even thousands of years after the ice retreated. So thanks for watching, and we are going to talk more about mountain glaciers in the next section.